Simply not good enough. If you're going to be highly critical, the selectors got the selection wrong. The coaches didn't coach well enough and got the tactics wrong, and the players didn't deliver. Because we have got some good players. You can't sit here and criticise the players saying they're not good enough. There's some very good players in that England team, but they just didn't deliver. Whether the tactics were all wrong and the selection of some of the players, what perhaps should have been there, is one thing. What will go on and on and on, and until there's a different way to select players, we'll probably still carry on doing the same thing in the next 4 years. Well, he's one player of many. I don't think Kevin's the only player. Yeah, you could look at lots of different players who are dynamic. We had 4 or 5 players who all played in the Big Bash, who all did okay. Lum, Vessels, Luke Wright, Kevin Pietersen, Michael Carberry, who all represented England by playing in the Big Bash and doing pretty well. Michael Carberry was part of the winning side. Now, I'm not saying he's the answer, but there's plenty of players who play a bit different than what some of the players we've got. We played safe cricket. We played statistics cricket. I've said that to you in the past. You only have to look at other teams the way they play. One of their openers gets to 60. One of the openers from other teams get to 60 or 70, goes on and gets a big 100. Even Scotland, Kyle Kurtzer did that. You've had Ireland. They've had their players doing it. Our players have not. Ian Bell has simply not delivered. He's had 160 one-day internationals and he's got 400s. If you compare that to Kohli's record, he was played around 160 internationals, but he's got 2200s. That tells you part of the problem. Well, that's what I mean. Some of the selections we had Anderson and Broad, who have been an opening partnership for a long time. Now Broad suffered with injuries and he's low on confidence. He came back into the side and he's a terrific player, by the way. But then we've got Wokes, who did beautifully opening the bowling and took early wickets. He's got 5 for on 2 occasions. In a warm-up game, he got 5 for as well, opening the bowling. And then comes the day, the eve of the first international of the World Cup. We decide to change him from first up with a new ball to putting him in first or second change. Now, that's one decision. The next decision was putting Taylor from 3, where he did really, really well, putting him down to 6, suddenly getting rid of Bapara. Treadwell, a terrific bowler, and over the past 18 months has been England's best bowler as a spin bowler. For some reason, he's not been seen during this World Cup, and no doubt we'll get a run out now against Afghanistan in the following week. But it's too late now. We're out of the World Cup. We've underachieved. We played safe cricket. We didn't back our own ability. If you think back to the Sri Lanka game, where Root and Morgan, in the middle overs, we got off to a terrific start against Sri Lanka. And now in the middle overs, that's when it's time to just push it around. 6, 7 and over would be ideal. That's your ideal scoring rate in those middle overs. We were scoring at about 4.5, when we'd only lost 2 wickets. Morgan nudged it around for 40 in about 60 or 70 deliveries. Root was really slow, and it required us to score 100 in the last 10 overs just to have any decent score. Now, we should have been looking at 350 against Sri Lanka, and we ended up with just over 300. And that's the difference between winning and losing. You only have to look at the other teams when they've played. They push on in those middle overs, where we seem to just be content with, we daren't lose a wicket here. Let's just try and knock it around at 4 and over. Their tactics we used to use in the 90s. Well, Paul Downton, I'm no doubt, is a terrific guy. He's not played the game now. He's been out of the game for 20 years, 20 odd years. Done well in the city of London, working in banking and companies like that. Been out of the game for 20 odd years. The way we still played in his era with the way we played one-day cricket. He shouldn't be involved in the cricket side. Our selectors, James Whittaker, terrific guy, looks good in a suit, but not played at the highest level really consistently. Only played a few games for England. Mike Newell, I think it's Mike Newell, one of the coaches from Notts, county cricketer, journeyman county cricketer, not played at the highest level. He's a selector. And Angus Fraser, he was a terrific guy, friend of mine. But really, one-day cricket wasn't his forte. it was all about Test cricket. Angus Fraser, when he played one-day cricket, he used to open the bowling and bowl his 10 straight through back in the old days. And we felt it's all a matter of the selection committee has just not been good enough. You look at other countries and the way they work it with their selection. They try and stay with the times. They try and stay in front of everyone else around the world, and we're still stuck in the 90s, and it's an issue really. So Paul Downton shouldn't be interfering with those things. We've now got Colin Graves, who starts as chairman of the ECB, starts next month. Now, I know Colin Graves, and I've known him for a long, long time, and he has made a big difference to Yorkshire County Cricket Club. He's a good businessman, and he will put the right people in charge. I am totally confident of that, and get the right form of cricket for England to move forward, because he's a massive cricket fan, but he's a very successful businessman as well. And he's turned Yorkshire's fortunes around. I remember he got me back to Yorkshire to sign as captain. And his words were to me, he says, "You're not going to make Yorkshire great again. But what you are going to do is change things. And you're going to be the start of, for the next, within 10 years' time, Yorkshire are not just going to win the championship. They're going to win it year after year after year." That was his target. And he's right. I went back to Yorkshire. We did pretty well in the 2 years. We improved our one-day cricket. And since I've left, you could see them improving every single year. And last year, county champions. And he's now left. He's going to the ECB. And I think he'll do exactly the same thing at the ECB. He'll put the right people in charge, right cricket people in charge, who know what they're talking about and can manage situations. Because at the moment, if you dig deep enough and go right through the system of English cricket, you'll find it's run by mainly guys who have played the league, have been run-of-the-mill county players, but who have had time to go through their level 4 coaching system. Now, us as a nation and as a board should be encouraging some of our better cricketers from yesteryear to go through that same system and rush them through their coaching. Yeah, you can't just give them a coaching award, but you should be encouraging them to take their level 3, level 4, if that's what they need to get on in this world. Well, Peter Moores has done a terrific job in county cricket. He's done well with Sussex. He also did well with Lancashire. He did get relegated with Lancashire as well, besides winning the championship. He did poor first time up with England. Things didn't work out with the Kevin Pietersen situation first time around, when Kevin was captain. He's now come back in, and I would say our game's gone backwards in the last 12 months, especially in the one-day format. We have no idea about selection. He backed the captain all the way through to the World Cup. Then they decided to go with the selectors and not pick him. He stuck with Morgan when Morgan's form's been scratchy now for a long, long time. 7 ducks, I think he's had in 12 knocks. He stuck Bell back up at the top of the order after dropping him in Sri Lanka. He moved Taylor down to 6. He dropped Bapara out of the side. He didn't pick Treadwell. So he's made some huge mistakes, and I think he might pay for that. People talk about where do we go from here. Now, when you look at the current coaching stuff, whether it's the batting coach, the bowling coach, you've got Rampakash there as a batting coach. He's a terrific player, and from all accounts, he's a terrific communicator and coach. And I've got no arguments with him in place. The bowling coach is Seika, is obviously an Australian. Didn't play at the highest level. The bowling has been sloppy during this World Cup, so that needs to be looked at. And I think he's had enough anyway, so I think it's time for him to go back to Australia. Let's just look at some of the players, what England could have taken. I think it's worth noting some of the players England could have taken to this World Cup. I actually said before it started, but I could pick a team what will probably go further than this team will go in the World Cup. And that's not just since what's happened. This was before the tournament actually started. Now, I picked some players, and some of the players I mentioned. You look at Alex Hales, whether he should have opened the batting. You look at KP, who should have been selected for a one-day competition. You look at Vince, another player, plays for Hampshire, who can open the bat 3, or bat anywhere in that top 6. You got Sam Billings, another young player who's gone away with the Lions and done well in tournament play. Joe Root would have been a definite for me. Butler would have been a definite for me. Moeen Ali would have been a definite, but he would have batted further down the order. Luke Wright, a player what Indians the Indian nation will know from T20 play, and he's done well again in the Big Bash. Ben Stokes, a player who's scored run after run. Rashid, a leg spinner from Yorkshire. Stuart Broad, he should be in your one-day side. I think he's just a player what's been shell-shocked from the last 18 months with the injuries he's had and the lack of confidence. And they're getting hit by Harden. Remember when he got hit on the nose, has hugely affected him mentally. Wokes, I think, has done enough to keep his place in the one-day side. And there's a guy called Footit who plays for Derbyshire. He's a left-armer. He's quite quick. But if you want to go down the left-arm route, which a lot of teams are going down this moment, there's a player in England called Tyrone Mills. Very, very quick. Ball's about 93, 94 miles an hour. He's a little bit wayward with a new ball. But if you need someone in there to be a strike bowler and take wickets, he's your man. So there's Mills. And then you've got Jordan, bowling Yorkers, but he really struggles to be consistent with a new ball. So when people say that England has got no talented one-day cricketers, they are totally, totally wrong. We've got a lot of talented one-day cricketers, but they're just not being given the opportunity with England at this moment in time. But I can assure you, next 12 months,